What if I told you that East Africa is sitting on an energy gold mine worth billions of dollars and it's been hiding in plain sight? While the world fights over oil, 3 East African countries have quietly discovered something that could change everything. And the craziest thing is, it comes from waste. By the end of this video, you will understand why smart investors are calling this region Saudi Arabia, but for clean energy. Remember our Akan proverb that once said, when the roots of a tree begin to decay, it spreads death to the branches. You know, our ancestors actually understood something powerful about transformation. Sometimes what looks like waste becomes wealth. Now, here's Dr. Kaizi, and a Uganda farmer, and 3 years ago, he was just an ordinary banana farmer, spending hours collecting firewood and watching his wife struggle with smoke cooking. Today, his farm waste generates enough clean energy to power his home, cook all his meals, and even sell excess gas to neighbors. And guess what? He now makes an extra $200 every month from cow dung. But here's what actually shocked me when I started researching this story. So Joseph isn't alone, right? Across Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, over 27,000 households have already installed biogas systems. Kenya leads with 17,000 household digesters and 8,000 commercial plants. Tanzania has about 12,000 systems and Uganda about 7,000. But these numbers are just the beginning of something that could transform the whole of Africa forever. Now I want us to look at this economic reality that actually changes everything. The International Energy Agency just confirmed that $110 billion will be invested in African energy by the end of 2025. But here's the problem. Most of it is still going to fossil fuels. Now I know what you are thinking. Biogas, isn't that just some small-scale farm technology? That's exactly what big oil wants you to believe. And honestly, they have a point. For decades, biogas projects across Africa have failed spectacularly. Ethiopia, up to 90% of installed systems are broken or abandoned. In 2016, 27% of digesters built between 2009 and 2013 across Africa weren't working. So why am I telling you this could be the next Saudi Arabia of clean energy? I am simply saying this because some fundamentals actually changed in 2024. Companies like Biogas Uganda Solutions introduced smart metering systems with pay-as-you-go use models. Suddenly, families who couldn't afford the $700 upfront cost could access biogas for just $2 per month. Rita's biogas system was venting gas for 5 hours daily, limiting her cooking to just 2 hours. Now, the good thing with smart meters is that it revealed this problem instantly. So after fixing it, her gas production increased by 60%. Isn't that amazing? But that's just one piece of the puzzle. The real game changers are actually 3 factors that are about to transform East Africa into clean energy superpower. So the first factor is the feedstock advantage. East Africa has something that Saudi Arabia never had. Note that over 65% of East Africa's population rely on agriculture. So that means millions of tons of organic waste daily. Be it cow dung, crop residue, food waste, it's all biogas feedstock. And unlike oil, it regenerates continuously. Now, when we go to Kenya, Kenya alone has potential for 1.3 million household biogas systems. And the numbers are staggering. Now, let's go to the second factor that we will be calling the cost revolution. Now, here's the economics that change everything. Households save 2.1 to 3.3 tons of firewood annually. That's about $300 to $500 savings. Plus, the bioslurry fertilizers increase crop yields by 84 to 91%. Now, there's this Kenyan company, Biogas International, that developed biogas systems that cost 70% less than traditional fixed digesters. Now, Simgas in Tanzania has also installed over 1,500 systems and can produce up to 10,000 units annually. That leads us to the third factor, that is the export infrastructure. Now, here's what India doesn't have that East Africa does. Strategic location. East Africa sits between Europe and Asia and the rest of Africa. Mombasa, Dar es Salaam aren't just ports. They are energy export gateways. And the partnerships are forming. The Dutch government invested millions through the African Biogas Partnership Program. Now, the EU is funding just energy transition partnerships worth billions. But there's something even bigger happening that most people haven't noticed. Remember those failure rates? 90% in Ethiopia, 27% across East Africa. Everyone sees that as a problem, but I see that as one of the biggest investment opportunities, and here's why. Every failed biogas digester represents lessons, right? Lessons and desperate need for better solutions. It's like the early days of the internet, lots of .com failures, right? But those endeavored to learn built Amazon and Google. Now, do you know that between 2016 to 2017, repair campaigns alone fixed 581 digesters across East Africa? Companies realized that maintenance was more important than installation numbers. And here's the data point that caught my attention. Countries with mature biogas programs see 15 to 20% annual market growth. East Africa is just reaching that maturity point now. But the real reason this becomes the Saudi Arabia scenario isn't just about the technology. The world is committing $2.2 trillion to clean energy investments in 2025. That's twice what's going to fossil fuels. At COP29, developed nations pledged $300 billion annually for developing countries by 2035. Africa is getting priority access to connect 300 million people to electricity by 2030. And talking about that, if that's something you would love to know more about, I actually made a dedicated video to that where I covered the Operation 300, and if you are interested, I am going to be linking it here. You can just click right after this video to watch. It is quite a massive and interesting project, so I highly recommend you watch that video after this one, right? So this is where it gets a little bit tricky, right? Because while China demonstrates solar panel exports, biogas production has to be local. You can't ship cow dung across oceans, can you? So this means East Africa could be the first region to control its entire clean energy supply chain. That is from feedstock to the final product. Now, it might interest you to know that the East African community already has framework for energy trading. Kenya's surplus biogas could power Tanzania's industries. Uganda's agricultural waste could fuel regional transportation networks. And just like Saudi Arabia used oil wealth to build cities and ports, East Africa is already using early biogas revenue to fund infrastructure, rural electrification, and processing facilities. But there's one more piece to this puzzle that could actually accelerate everything. Now, if you're part of the African diaspora watching this, you know, as I always say, you are always directly connected, right? So here's why it matters to you. The African diaspora sends over $900 billion annually in remittances back home. But what if even just 5% went to biogas infrastructure? That's $5 billion annually, which is not negligible at all, right? Now, combining it with institutional funding, we are talking about $20 to $30 billion in the next decade. I found entrepreneurs across the diaspora already moving. Early investors in Kenyan biogas companies are already seeing 20 to 30% annual returns. Compare that to the stock market's 10% average. Now, there's Nancy Muruwangi also, who went from spending 4 hours daily collecting firewood to running a biogas consulting business. And guess what? She now trains other women across 3 countries. Now, go-getters, take note that this isn't just about energy, alright? It's about transforming rural communities where our grandfathers live, where our cousins farm, where our children might one day invest and build. So talking about building, let's talk real opportunities. Now, for small investors, that is people who invest $500 to $5,000, we are talking of direct investment in community biogas. You will be getting an average return of 15 to 25% annually. Now, for medium investors, we are talking $5,000 to about $50,000. Equity takes in biogas equipment manufacturers like Simgas or partnership with the 22 marketing hubs across Kenya. Now, for large investors, we are referring to people who invest from $50,000 upwards, right? Now, this has to do with commercial biogas plants, compressed biogas export facilities, or regional hub development. Now, let's quickly address some risk, right? When we go to the technical risk, modern systems have 90% reliability when properly maintained. 600 million Africans still use traditional biomass, so the demand is guaranteed. Now, for returns, we will look at conservative projections that show 12 to 18% IRR, and with premium locations exceeding 25%. So here's the part that gives me the most hope, right? While researching this, I came across dozens of young East African engineers who aren't waiting for foreign investors. Instead, they are developing portable urban biogas systems, biogas-powered milk chillers, and compressed biogas filling stations. This is technological leapfrogging in real time. East Africa isn't copying Western models, but rather they are creating new ones designed for African conditions. Which is why I love the youths of today. Africans of today are so dynamic, alright? They constantly think out of the box. And that's exactly why we are experiencing a drastic change. Another thing East Africa is doing well at is, unlike the fact that Saudi Arabia is exporting raw crude, East Africa is building the entire value chain locally. The wealth stays in the community, the job stays local, and the expertise builds over generations. If you go to East Africa, you will notice that every new farm creates more feedstock. Every new household creates more demand. It's a virtuous cycle that compounds over decades. So, go-getters, here's my challenge to you. We are at a historic moment. For the first time in African history, Africa has the opportunity to lead a global energy transition. So if you're wondering how to participate, here's what you can do right now. Research one biogas company mentioned in this video this month and connect with one African energy investment group. Make your first investment, even for just $500, supporting one household system. People doubted mobile banking would work in Africa. That went on for long until M-Pesa revolutionized financial inclusion. They doubted African countries could leapfrog landlines until mobile phones connected the continent. That said, if this is something you would love to know more about, I just covered this fully last week in this video that I am going to be linking in the comment section so that you will watch as well. But before we proceed, if you are one of those looking out for investments in Africa that could create an impact, don't hesitate to reach out to us, for we have a joint venture on the diaper production that you could join, alright? So if you are interested, you just go to our About page and click our membership to join, or you simply email us at africatodayinfo@gmail.com, letting our assistant know that you are interested in joining the diaper project, and she will definitely connect you to us directly. That said, let's go to conservative estimates that suggest the East African biogas market could reach $5 billion by 2030. Optimistic projections, $15 to $20 billion. Now, we aren't still at the level of doubting whether East Africa will become the powerhouse of clean energy, right? That's not the question. All you need to think of is if you will be part of building it. Remember our African proverb that when the root of a tree begins to decay, it spreads death to its branches? The reverse is also true. When the roots grow strong and healthy, they spread life and abundance to every branch. East Africa's biogas revolution It's growing the roots of energy independence and economic development. The question is if you will help water those roots. While I leave you to ponder on that, thanks for watching this video, and I hope to see you on my next one as always.